All right, so the Atlanta Falcons, they're an up-and-coming team. A lot of people realize it, but the reality with the Falcons, as it is with pretty much every team, they're going to go as the quarterback goes. And in this case, they're going to go as far as Desmond Ridder will take them. And we've got a great report that highlights that Desmond Ridder could be a big boon for this team as we get ready for the 2023 season.
Yeah, Nick, I think this report is really great because it shows we're not the only ones that talk highly of Desmond Ridder. These people might not be talking, but they're showing that they believe that he is going to be good. And I think that's going to be great for the Atlanta Falcons fans. So stay tuned to hear about that. But Falcons fans, the season is fast approaching. Training camp is in session. We're about to hit preseason games coming up. And I want to know what game you are most looking forward to watching this season. Could be a tight divisional matchup. Those are always very exciting, but it could be a conference opponent that you don't really get to see that often. So let us know in the comment section below, what game are you really looking forward to seeing this season? But Nick, let's get on into it. Let's talk about what we love to talk about. How good is Desmond Ridder going to be?
So this time of year, obviously, as you're going through training camp, there's a lot of reports, a lot of snippets of like how good a player is, how good a team is, how bad a player is, how not good a team is looking at this point. It's really hard to triangulate. We always look for what we call corroborating evidence, multiple reports pointing in one direction. But when it really comes down to it, you always want to do what the smart money is doing. Look at where the dollars are behind. And when it comes to this situation here, you want to see where the Vegas, where the odds makers are making their decisions, because those are the people that have hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars invested in getting these things correctly. They've got more on the line than any reporter, than any Twitter personality you're ever going to find. That's why I really like to look at what Vegas has to say. And we've got an interesting report highlighted by Sports Illustrated that the Atlanta Falcons currently are tied with having the best odds out of any team to go from last place, worst in their division last year, to first place in their division this year, winning their division outright. They're tied with the New York Jets of having the best odds to accomplish that feat. The Jets, notably, of course, added Aaron Rodgers and a lot of talent. So being on that same page as the New York Jets is obviously a great sign for the Atlanta Falcons. But there's a report from Sports Illustrated, and I'll go ahead and read from it, just highlighting some of the high-level reasons why. You can see on the report the odds to win the NFC South plus 225. That's second among the four teams. From the report, it was a busy offseason for the Falcons, who dedicated a ton of resources to improving their defense and used a first-round pick to bolster their biggest strength, running the football. Atlanta added running back Bijan Robinson to an offense that finished third in rushing DVOA last season. Despite what the depth chart says, Robinson headlines a running back room that includes Tyler Algier, who ran for 1,000 yards as a rookie, and Cordero Patterson, all of whom will reap the rewards of running behind one of the NFL's best offensive lines. Robinson was the third straight skill position player the front office drafted in the top 10, joining wide receiver Drake London and tight end Kyle Pitts. That talented trio should help elevate quarterback Desmond Ridder, a third rounder who made just 4 starts as a rookie. Marcus Mariota's shortcomings as a passer held the offense back in 2022. All right, Miles, when I saw these odds and I saw this report, it kind of just jogged my memory, because you know what they say, right? History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. If you go back to the last 2 seasons of the teams that accomplished the worst, the first feat, you have the Cincinnati Bengals 2 years ago. They had Joe Burrow. They added a big-time playmaker in the top 10 in Jamar Chase. They end up winning the division outright, the AFC North. You have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had Trevor Lawrence. They added a lot of playmakers around him. They end up winning their division, the AFC South, outright. The Atlanta Falcons, very similar situation. Young quarterback going into his second season. They add a big-time playmaker. A lot of odds, a lot of great opportunities here to win the division outright. Very winnable division, the NFC South. I think we're starting to see a trend here that a lot of momentum is lining up behind Desmond Ridder. Look, this guy doesn't have to be Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't have to be Joe Burrow. He just has to be better than Marcus Mariota by a little bit, and better than he was over those 4 games last year. And if he accomplishes that, this Falcons team could easily win this division, Miles. But let me throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts on this report and everything with the Falcons right now?
Yeah, Nick, I think there's a few key things that you touched on. First of all, you said something very interesting, is that he only has to be better than Marcus Mariota to carry this team further than they did last year. And that's not very hard, because Marcus Mariota, he seemed as if last year he wasn't 100% all in with the Falcons. This is a guy who started out the season, he was okay, but then throughout the season, things got worse and worse and worse, eventually leading to the starting of Desmond Ridder. We all know, if you watch the quarterback series, Marcus Mariota was dealing with a lot of stuff, nagging injuries. He had his first child last year. There's a lot of stuff going on. So Desmond Ridder, a young guy who's ultra locked in, ultra focused, I think he's going to come out and start slinging the ball. And another thing you talked about, Nick, is the offensive line. This is an offensive line that is incredibly impressive and got even better this offseason, adding Bergeron at the left guard. All of the other Falcons offensive linemen rank top 16 or above in their position group. Matthews, left guard, 16th. Dahlman, the center, 14th. Lindstrom, 1st. McGarry, 4th at right tackle. This is a stacked offensive line. I think this is going to be really great for Desmond Ridder. Now that he has more than 4 games to have to figure everything out, he has a whole offseason with all the first team reps. He's going to go in at the beginning of the season. I think this is going to be a huge jump for the Atlanta Falcons, and I think we're going to see a much improved team.
And I brought up the Trevor Lawrence Jacksonville Jaguars comp. I think that's the most realistic situation. There's a lot of similarities there. If you go back to the AFC South last year, outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars, you had a solid team, but never hasn't been a great team. They're not great at quarterback. And the Tennessee Titans, kind of similar to the New Orleans Saints. You had a team trying to basically tank, right? They're trying to get the number 1 overall pick. Last season, that was the Houston Texans. Didn't work out for them. That's kind of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the situation in the NFC South. And then you had a Frank Reich coach, Indianapolis Colts, and you have the Frank Reich coach, Carolina Panthers, right? There's a lot of similarities there. And the Trevor Lawrence thing to me is very interesting because if you look at Trevor Lawrence's PFF ranking, he finished 19th, 1-9 in the entire NFL. That's technically below average. That's what Desmond Ridder can get to, I think, pretty easily, especially his second year in the offense, all these playmakers. And if he gets to that level, this team wins 10, 11 games. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of smart money kind of aligning behind the Atlanta Falcons as them being a very viable playoff threat as we get ready for the regular season.